Ooh, it's that time of year again. The spooky, scary time of year. It's okay, don't worry. I'm not doing the whole video like that. The Mad King returns once again to give us candy and trick-or-treat bags. Mad King Thorn is often regarded as a terrible villain, but how much do you actually know about him? Is he really the big bad villain we think, or just misunderstood? After all, he was quoted saying, "Never kill people," unless that's part of the joke. Anyways, in this video, let's discuss Mad King Thorn and the lore that we know about him. Mad King Thorn started out as Prince Oswald Thorn. He was born into the Crichton royal family sometime in the 8th century. From a very young age, he showed signs of his sociopathic behavior, which only got worse with age. Oswald was not in line for the throne since he had an older brother, Ewan, who everybody seemed to like a lot better than him. Mostly because Ewan was a very kind and friendly person, whereas Oswald was not. He was a constant troublemaker, whose pranks would ruin people's lives and sometimes even get them killed. In his youth, Oswald was known to enjoy torturing animals and watching them suffer. For some reason, he thought it was funny. But he would also be responsible for the death of 2 other kids he was friends with, Serene and Samson. Serene would be trampled to death by her horse after Oswald fed hot peppers to it, something he thought was very funny. He would even be seen hiding nearby, laughing as it was happening. Samson used to be a playmate of Oswald's, but one day while the 2 of them were out, a giant worm grabbed Samson. And instead of helping, Oswald just ran away and left his friend there to die. Oswald would even go as far as to get his older brother Ewan killed so he could take his place as heir to the throne. Oswald would play a prank on him and trick him into getting stuck in a giant spider's web, which would then kill him. But it seems Ewan really did care about Oswald. Even in death, when you talk to his ghost, he mentions how he always wanted the best for him. Well, that didn't really work out, did it? Oswald would then murder his father to take control of the throne and trick his brother's girlfriend, Lady Lyrica, into becoming his first wife, telling her that she could continue Ewan's good work once she became queen, which was a lie. After marriage, Lyrica would get to know Oswald's real personality and she would spend most of her time away from him. So Oswald decided to just pay to have her killed. This whole sort of cycle of marriage and murder would continue, with Oswald having a total of 8 different wives. Lady Lyrica, who he assassinated, Princess Zola, who he burned alive after he got bored of her, Ilian, whose fate is unclear, probably can assume she was killed, Estrella, who he stuffed in a coffin full of rats, which he dumped into the sea, Henrietta, who would be killed by Oswald's son Edric after Edric nailed her to a drake, along with 3 other unnamed wives, one of which was the mother of Edric. Oswald ordered her to be executed. The other 2, it's unknown what happened to them, but following the pattern, I think we can assume they were also murdered in terrible fashion. So evidently, Oswald was a horrible husband and a horrible father. His son Edric would pull a lot of the same schemes his father did, getting people killed, burning down villages, even starting a riot to try and end his father's rule, which would ultimately fail. As punishment, Oswald would lock him in a coffin with a mouth stuffed full of candy corn and then magically seal it away. Then order all history about Edric to be destroyed, and then for good measure, kill anyone who helped him do that. Okay, but what about as an actual king and ruler? Was King Oswald Thorn at least a decent ruler? No, he was terrible. Anyone who accused him of killing his family members was executed. His attempt at a peace treaty to end the Centaur War was laughably bad. Under his rule, there was drought, famine, high taxes, many peasants would die of starvation. These same peasants would steal just to make ends meet. The punishment for stealing that King Thorn decided upon was to have hands cut off. Whether you were guilty or not, an accusation is all it took. Based on all these actions, I think you can understand now why he's called Mad King Thorn. The Mad King's rule would finally come to an end after the people rebelled against him. They stormed the castle and King Oswald Thorn was killed. But for good measure, they dismembered his body and put each piece into a different box to be buried and magically sealed in different locations. So that way, even with the help of magic, Mad King Thorn could never return. Now that was the end of King King Thorn's life on the mortal realm, but now dead, his life in the underworld was just beginning. Thorn did gain quite a reputation for himself down in the underworld, so much that he even has control of a little pocket dimension called the Mad King's Realm. This is where he has his labyrinth, the clock tower, all those fun Halloween activities take place in the Mad King's Realm. There is actually one very important event that happened in the underworld that King Thorn was involved in. There was a time when the underworld was attacked by the old death god Doom, and Grenth and his reapers seemed to be unaware of it. It was Thorn who noticed the change in underworld energy, and he tasked some mortal adventurers to investigate and then report to Grenth's allies. King Thorn and his crew even offered whatever help they could to fight Doom's army. So thanks to Thorn, Grenth and his army was able to beat back Doom and maintain control of the underworld. So maybe that's why he's allowed to control that little realm of his own. Maybe it's a reward or a thanks of some kind. Who knows? There is just one more bit of lore that I want to touch on, and that's the rivalry between Mad King Thorn and Palawa Joko. The two of them knew each other back when they were just young boys. Joko was the son of a visiting Alonian diplomat. The two of them would spend time together torturing insects, and then Joko would give Thorn advice on what animals are likely to survive torture. Joko would even recommend that Thorn torture his servants as well, which he did. The two would play pranks on each other, and things would escalate to a violent level. They would wage battles against each other, and Joko would even order his minions to attack the lunatic court. But it seems that Thorn would eventually have the last laugh, since the ghost of Palawa Joko now resides in the Mad King's realm, where the two old rivals now stand there across from each other, slinging insults back and forth, just like the old days. Now, as we know, Thorn is dead. He is bound to the underworld, and his body parts are magically sealed away, so how exactly does he return to Tyria? That would be due to the efforts of his lunatic court. At some point in history, one of the magical seals on Thorn's body parts was damaged. The lunatic court then conducted many other rituals to see if they could break the rest of the seals or channel Thorn's spirit into a vessel, all of which failed, but they were able to weaken the barrier between the underworld and Tyria once a year on Halloween. And this weakness is just enough that the Mad King himself can step through and return to Tyria briefly just for this Halloween festival. Well, I think that'll end up being a wrap on this video. We have discussed most of the known lore about Mad King Thorn. A lot of this lore actually came from the Mad Memories collection achievements. So if you're interested, you can play through those and see a lot of this stuff for yourself. And also pick up some pretty cool Halloween themed back items while you're at it. If you made it all the way here to the end, drop a comment which of the Mad King's jokes is your favorite. If you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing or becoming a channel member if you want to go the extra distance. But that will be all for now. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.